Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mr. Zukan. We're having a course titled Introduction to News Gathering. Introduction to News Gathering, MMC 211. Introduction to News Gathering, MMC 211. I will be considering what news is all about and down to it. So, on this course, we'll be knowing the objective, and the objective is to help the student understand the concept of news and news gathering and its method. We must understand the concept of news gathering, and its method. Number two is to train the student to recognize and classify the different types of bits, sources, and reporting to journalism. Number three is to equip the student to identify, categorize, and write journalistic pieces by themselves. Let's look at what news is all about. News typically connotes the presentation of new information. News typically connotes the presentation of new information. So, giving out new information is what news is all about. Giving out new information is what news is all about. And news is information about current events. News is information about current events, and this may be provided through many different media. This may be provided through different medias and ways of mouth, printing, poster system, broadcasting, electronic communication, and through the testimony of observer and witnesses to events. So, what makes for a good story? What makes for a good story? So, any new, unusual, and interesting information expressed in the simplest language is clearly understood and appeal to what? To audience. So they say there is no few factors that help determine the newsworthiness of a story. So news values seems to be common across cultures. People seems to understand, or people seem to fall interest in news in the extent that it has a big impact, describe conflict upon nearby, informs well-known people, and so on and so forth. So there are elements of good news story. Elements of good news story. What are the elements? Elements of a good news story. We have facts first. We talk about facts. Talk about significance. We talk about focus. We talk about contents. We talk about the voice. These are elements of a good news story. So significant focus, context, voice, and so on and so forth. So we have clarity. Clarity. The news must be clarity. Brevity. The news story must always be brief. That's what it's called, brevity. So complete the good reporter participates and answers the question that their readers or viewers or listener we ask. We have the balance and fairness. This is the ability to write a news story without showing any form of evidence of bias and partiality. We have the objectivity, we have the attribution. We have the objectivity and we have the attribution. We have different types of news. And there are two types of news to be precise. We have the hard news and we have the soft news. We have the hard news. Hard news generally concern issues, politics, economics, international relation, welfare, scientific development, whereas soft news focuses on woman interest story and celebrity. So when we talk about hard news refer to the news stories that have a big impact on the society, that have a big impact on the society as a whole and need to be reported urgently. So the news must have a big impact on the society as a whole and need to be reported urgently. So they are factual stories with data concerning events that are partially or potentially what available to analyze. Example of such news are politics, crime, economics, international affairs, national calamity, riot, and so forth and so forth. So hardware stories are supposed to be strictly subjective. So the journalist needs not to give his or her opinion on the story, but should provide facts as they see. A reporter covers a health story is given a much higher deadline. Yes. So when we talk about soft news on the other hand refer to the story that provides others backup. Soft news on the other hand refers to the stories that provide other background information about world events, human interest stories, or environmental news. So, since these do not deal with serious subjects, they are labeled as soft. They are labeled as soft because it has to do with the world events, human interest stories, and entertainment. What entertainment? So, it's not a serious story. So that is why it's regarded as soft news. So example of such could be sports news, celebrity news, um, human interest stories that deal with emotions. So this purpose of this type of news is not to provide information at the first hand. Its main objective is to entertain the masses. So once it comes to entertainment to the masses, it is referred to as soft news. So when it comes to politics, so on and so forth, it is referred to as hard news. I don't know if I'm communicating. Now, how do you decide which story to cover? How do you decide which story to cover? So, a good news needs to be new, needs to be new, interesting, and important to people. So, report the most up to date information about an event. You will need to know how to identify the story. You must need to know how to identify the story. So to determine if you should continue with the lead that you think might be a good news story, you may ask yourself, is this actually a good story? Is this actually going to be relevant to the society? So is the news story about the current local issues? Where did it happen? When did it happen? What new information have you found about it? Is it a new story about an issue from the past? What where did it happen? When did it happen? What new about what found it? Who is affected by the issues? How are they affected by the issues? Why is it important for people to know about the issues? Why will people be interested in the news story? So you may have noticed that this checklist covers 5 W's. Five what? W. The 5 W is where, when, what, who, and why. So these are the 5 W's that you must consider when doing your gathering your news. Now that we are trying to give you a background of what news is before we can now talk about news gathering. So the inverted pyramid styles of writing a news. In journalism, the inverted pyramids refer to a story structure where the most important information or what might even be considered the conclusion is presented first. The most important is presented first. The who, the where, what, the when, where, and why appears at the start of the story, followed by supporting details and background information. So all this entails and it covers the lead. The lead, most important information about an event, who, what, where, when, why, how. They are found in the lead story. So the body, the crucial information expanded, the topic argument, controversy, story, evidence, and what? Background detail. Detail talk about the extra information that is interesting, the related item journalist assessment. So how to write in the inverted pyramid style. How? When you write a new article, is the invented pyramid style. The news should be presented in descending order as it's important. So it is significantly differentiated into three levels. Number one, the lead. The lead is the top part of the information. It is called the lead, and as the name suggested, contains the most crucial or critical words information. So the lead of the news article should contain every single bit of information, of the all important information about the incident or events that took place. So it should mention when it happens, where it happened, why it happened, what exactly happened, and how it all happened. So the part should basically contain this content which makes it newsworthy. So by reading just the head part of the story of the reader should be able to be able to gauge what the article is about, the content. So when you talk about the body, number two is the body. The body is the middle part is addressed as the body. The middle part is addressed as the body to contain subsequent paragraph giving additional facts related to the incident. So it generally gives the information on the background of people informed in the incident, any argument or dispute that have occurred. So any shield of evidence, they may also contain some important quotes made by some official or people related to the incident. These are the body talk about the sources of the information in order to prove its credibility. So photos and video in the incident are also added in this part. You are trying to give detail. It's called the body. So you must give detailed of what is all about. So the tail or the conclusion, the third part of it is known as the tail or the conclusion. This section contains information regarding contains information regarding events that are occurring related to the incident. So they might have certain influence or reference regarding similar incidents that had occurred. So news value are the critical that influence the selection and presentation of what of event as published um, as published news. So this value help every to explain what makes something newsworthy. So news value may vary between different culture, methodological, and conceptually. News value can be approached from four different perspectives. News value can be approached from four different perspectives. Material, which focusing on the material and reality of the event. We talk about the cognitive, focuses on people beliefs and value system. Number three is the social, which focuses on journalistic practice. Then number four is the discursive, which focuses on the discourse. So noteworthiness is defined as the subject having sufficient relevance to the public or a special audience to warrant press attention and coverage. So factors determining what's worthy is number one, impact. How impactful this is. Number two is timeliness. Timeliness. Number three is proximity. Number three is proximity. Number three is proximity. Number four is human interest. Human interest. Human interest. Human interest. The next is conflict, and next is celebrity. Conflict and celebrity. And we talk about the bizarre and the controversy. And we talk about the genuineness and the negativity. So when all these are put in place, everything works together because all negative news spread faster than positive. So people discuss and share negative events more than ordinary news. So that is why you, as a journalist, you have to be careful on the kind of news that you gather. Now we talk about news gathering. News gathering. What do you understand by news gathering? News gathering is the work collecting news, the work of collecting news for publications or broadcast is known as news what? News gathering, the art, the work. We talk about work, we talk about the art. We talk about art. News gathering is the process involving sourcing ideas, planning coverage, uh, assigning terms or themes, structuring packages, and monitoring the webs and working in the field. So working in the field, going around to monitoring the web and structuring packages. So these are the daily activities of a news gatherer. What do they do? They involve in sourcing ideas, planning coverage, assigning team, structuring packages, and monitoring the web and working in the field. So news gathering is the process of or the art of collecting raw material, the art of collecting raw materials for reporting. So it is an important aspect of news reporting. It is an important aspect of news reporting. How a reporter gathered news is the focus of this unit. How a reporter gathered news is the focus of this unit. So method of collecting news, method of gathering news. The four most commonly used method in gathering news by the journalists is number one, observation. Observation consists of your actually seeing an event take place and then reporting it. So what you have seen in the form of a news story. So skilled observers use their eyes, ears, mind, notebook, and tape recorders. They make sure they get the concrete facts, basic figures, and accurate information. They look for colorful, the dramatic, and unusual in any situation. So skilled observers always try to get more information than they actually need. The key of to becoming a good observer is to look for more than you can see on the surface. And this takes a lot of experience. You look for more than you see. So you look beyond what you are seeing. That is what the word observer is all about. And they recorded that they look for colorful and dramatic and unusual in any situation. So skill observer always try to get more information. We always try to get more information. Number three or number two is telephone conversation. Telephone conversation is the time saver for a journalist. A telephone helps the reporter to do their legwork easily, and it often enables them to reach people who are ordinarily too busy to be seen in person. So the following point have to kept in the mind for good phone conversation. So number one is keep writing material, notes taking material ready before you call. Do not make the receiver wait for you to find a pen and paper. So speak politely and cheerfully, but businesslike with well modulated tone. So reconfirm facts before you bank in. Reconfirm facts before you hang up. So do not call repeatedly with minor queries. So speak to the concerned person directly and not through a middleman. So it can hinder clarity in conversation. So repeat back the information they gave inside in short and recheck your data. So do not discuss classified information or record a call without their what? Without their permission. So telephone conversation may range from full-scale interview to brief queries in verifying of amplified information. Yes, how through research and interview. So the process of digging the information from files and reference research is made clarify or amplify facts in news stories to give points of to give deep points to feature stories and magazine articles. So interviews about 90% of new everything is a news story. It's based on some form of interviewing, either in person, by telephone, or by occupations, or occasionally, or by correspondence. For example, the journalist cannot be present at every newsworthy incident, occurrence, or an incident. In such cases, interviews are the only way to gather first hand information for the news article. I'll stop here. We'll continue in our next class. Thank you for joining. See you in my next class. My name is Mr. Azuka.